you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our MLB On Deck segment for Friday, May 31st. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This you can watch all of our MLB, NBA, NFL videos. And if you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel, and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jeremy? How you doing out there, bro?
Yo, what up, man? How you doing? I'm good.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. Pretty good night last night. MLB made a couple bucks. Ready to jump into it today. Today's a big slate. Hitting wise, I'm gonna let you kind of handle the pitching side of things. There's a couple good pitching options, but hitting wise, man, there's so many good hitting spots today. And for me, and obviously, I know probably for you, with the fact there's probably 12 or 13 spots that you can attack. I think today's going to be the day where we're going to kind of have to figure out which teams are going to be the lower owned teams, just so we can kind of get an edge on the field, because there's that many good hitting spots. Obviously, Coors Field's on the slate. Gotta like the Rockies a lot today. So yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some bats and talk some pitchers and kind of get going. You ready?
So yesterday on the deep dive, I mentioned that I'm not a fan of these huge slates. And the reason I'm not a fan is because ownership is so spread out on a slate like this that the example I gave was it was a monster slate on Wednesday, I believe, right? Was it Tuesday or Wednesday where Dietrich hit 3 home runs?
That was 2 days ago.
So that would have been on Wednesday, right? So on a slate that big, you had the Texas Rangers score 11 runs. You had the Washington Nationals score like 14 runs. And if you didn't, despite that right there, if you didn't have Dietrich, like you probably weren't taking anything down. You didn't need the other teams that had those monster numbers, because there was nobody that really went for over 25 or 30 points. And you had Dietrich, the one guy, right? So on a slate that large, it's so hard to get leverage on the field because you can't really narrow down a pool like you can on a smaller slate. So this is another one of those very big slates. You've already mentioned there's probably 12 really good spots to look at, if not more than that, because there's some spots that are, I think, under the radar based on pitching matchups where you can definitely look at, and when you kind of put ballpark factors and stuff like that, and we'll get into those after you give what you're talking about here with the teams you like.
Yeah, for sure. So, with the fact that there's so many teams, I'm going to kind of go through the 5 teams that I'm liking. But, I don't, just because I'm going to kind of go through 5 teams, there's still a lot of other spots that I'm going to quickly bring up. So I'm not going to spend too much time on each team, just because, like I said, there's numerous spots that we can attack today. So I'm going to start with the Rockies. I think Rockies are by far the best team to target on this slate. I think it's really going to come down to you get Rockies and figure out what other teams you're going to stack them with. They got a 7 implied run total, which is 2 higher than any other team. What you mentioned the other day about Colorado, it wasn't too hot. So, it wasn't the best hitting conditions, even though they were in Coors Field. And that day, it ended up being a pretty low total game in overall. Today's going to be completely different. It's going to be hot there. The Rockies, they get a matchup against Edwin Jackson. I don't know how this dude, Edwin Jackson, is still getting paid to pitch in the majors. He has a 41% hard contact rate. He gives up a 143 ISO to lefties. So he's pretty good against lefties. So that's probably why, he does have a job. But against righties, he has a 581 ISO. That is just insane. I don't know if I've seen a higher ISO, to one side of the plate from a pitcher this whole season. That's crazy. 581 is very, very high. I'm liking the righties for the Rockies, man. You got to look at Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado. Ian Desmond's in play, and then the guy Brendan Rodgers is a righty also, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So I think those are the guys that you look at. But definitely you can look at the lefties. They're gonna get some RBI opportunities. You could throw in a Dahl, a Murphy, Tapia if he's gonna be in the top of the order. But for me, man, it's Trevor Story, Arenado, those are probably the top two plays on the slate in general. Ian Desmond is starting to swing a really good bat as well. And then Brendan Rodgers, a young guy. The little four-man righty stack, I really, really like. I really like that stack a lot. It's really easy today. I mean, you want to get the Rockies in your lineups. I mean, there's no other way around it. Outside of the Rockies, I like this Texas game as well. We mentioned.
Hey, what I say yesterday about the Texas game?
Yeah, no, for sure. You were right. It was a little bit colder there as well. So I mean, I want you guys to understand. I mean, Jeremy's really getting me on it. I mean, weather is crazy. I mean, I've always known weather is crazy important, but I've always looked at weather more for like rain delays and stuff like that. But I mean, Texas, it was a little bit colder yesterday. Today is going to be hot. You know,
the number one thing to look at, right? The number one thing to look at, and if you Google this, you won't find anything on it. And trust me, I've tried to find this over again, and you can't find it. And now Texas actually says, as an organization, that the boomerang effect is gone. But if the wind is blowing, and this is kind of a cool thing, because there's people who will look at that, they'll look at weather, and they'll see the winds blowing in from right field at 20 miles per hour. They're like, oh, it's not going to be that good for home runs tonight. You know, it's the wind's blowing in at 20 miles per hour. I'm not going to hit it. That's when you want to target that place. And yesterday, the wind was not blowing in from right field. The wind was kind of a crosswind from left to right. And the one thing I said was, didn't I say Whit Merrifield was probably the best play in the whole game?
Yeah. Yep.
And I believe he hit a 2-run bomb, and then he didn't hit a bomb. Soler hit the bomb. I said use Merrifield or maybe Soler. He's getting really hot. Soler hit a 3-run bomb. So Texas today, I believe the wind's blowing in from right field at like 10 miles per hour. So it's going to be warmer there, and Texas is definitely a place that's on the map.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like both sides of this game. I'll start with Texas first. They get a matchup with Danny Duffy, gives up a 36% hard contact, 167 ISO to lefties, 148 ISO to righties. Texas has a team. They have a 189 ISO. I definitely think you can look at people from both sides of the plate. But I'm liking the
I'm going to tell you right now, right? I'm going to tell you right now. The people that you target in this lineup right now are the left-handed bats. The crazy thing about Texas is the fact that you've got Gallo, Mazzara, and Pence is really the one righty, but Gallo and Mazzara have enormous ISOs against left-handed pitching. They're definitely reverse splits guys.
Yeah, no, I mean that's exactly what I was going to say. I like Mazzara. I like Gallo. I'll even throw in Chu. Chu gives us a little bit of pop, a little bit of stolen base upside. And then you could throw in a Hunter Pence, swinging a good bat. You could, possibly throw in a Forsythe, Santana. But for me, it's the lefties as well. I completely agree.
I believe Santana's on the IO.
Oh, okay. We have him projected right now in the start lineup.
Maybe
he's in because the lineup's already confirmed for the day.
Oh, okay.
That's what we got. Yeah. So I like the Texas side, looking at the lefties. On the flip side of things, I like the Royals as well, getting a matchup against Ariel Gerardo. He gives up a 36% hard contact, 0.023 against ISO against lefties, 160 ISO against righties. The guy's actually not a bad pitcher. I like the hitting conditions in Texas today. Kansas City as a team, they have a 183 team ISO. For me, I mean, you want to kind of stay away from the lefties in Kansas City, and you want to target them with the righties. We're looking at Whit Merrifield. Obviously, I mean, I mentioned it yesterday. He's probably the best player on their team in the lineup right now. The guy's been very, very good the past couple of years. He's going to be the main target that I'm going to be looking at. Outside of that, you can look at Mondesi. Mondesi's a switch hitter, correct?
Yes.
You can look at Mondesi, possibly Hunter Dozier, and then you called it yesterday, and it was a very good call. Jorge Soler. I was watching ESPN last night. I seen he hit this ball and it got out the ballpark so fast. Like I haven't seen a ball hit that hard in a long time. So I definitely think that
Soler, I don't know how many people know this, but Soler, he homered in the day before against the White Sox. And that was in the latter part of the game. I think it was his third at bat. His second at bat, he hit an absolute moonshot to right center field that Leroy Garcia robbed. He went over the wall and got it. So he should have double donged the other day. And then he hit. I mean, Soler and Alex Gordon are having unbelievable seasons for what they've done for their career previously. They're having unbelievable seasons.
But I seen him hit that ball yesterday, and I was like, oh dang, like, hey, he absolutely crushed that ball.
Right.
So I mean, for me, the top targets, I think on the Royals, you look at Merrifield, you look at Soler because we want to target the righties, Mondesi as well, and then you mentioned it. You could throw in an Alex Gordon, nice little 4-man stack right there. Moving on from Texas, I like Cleveland. I think Cleveland's a spot that you can look at. They get a matchup today against Dylan Covey. Dylan Covey's not a bad pitcher. He only gives up a 24% hard contact rate, but he does give up a 186 ISO to lefties, 185 ISO to righties. You got Cleveland as a team, 148 team ISO. I'm looking at their obvious guys. You're looking at Francisco Lindor, Carlos Santana, Jose Ramirez. His price is down. I understand he's not having the best season, but hey, man, Jose Ramirez had 2 really good seasons. I'm looking at his career numbers, not what he's done in the past month, and he's going to get back on track. Really good buy low opportunity. The last guy I'll throw in there, played him yesterday, and it worked out great. Jordan Luplow hit a home run for us. I think that he's in play as well. They had him in the cleanup spot yesterday. If he's going to be back in the cleanup spot again, hey, man, that'll be a really, really good play. So I think Cleveland's a good team to look at. And another team, I'm going to go to Atlanta. We talked about Atlanta's a really, really good hitting environment now. It's going to be hot.
Let me say one quick thing, bro. Let me say one quick thing. Luplow has hit 4 of his 8 home runs off Manny Banuelos.
Oh, has he?
Yeah. So he has some power. He has some power. And yeah, if he's in the cleanup spot, he's probably a decent play for his price tag. I think he's 3,100 on FanDuel. But his ISO numbers against lefties compared to righties there's a big difference, and he's a left-handed masher, and that's what he is. I wouldn't put the same emphasis on Luplow today as I did yesterday, just for the simple fact that his ISO numbers against lefties are crazy. And then I didn't realize, because I don't really look at BVP, I didn't realize that he had half his home runs off of Manny Banuelos until he hit the home run yesterday. I was watching the game, and they said that's his 4th bomb off Banuelos this season. So, like, he owns Banuelos.
Right, for sure. Moving on, next team I'm going to talk about, I like the Atlanta Braves at home. Another really good hitting environment. It's going to be hot there. Right now, man, it's starting to get really hot, around baseball and these when you got these teams that are in hitters' parks. I mean, balls are going to be flying. It is what it is. Atlanta gets a matchup against Spencer Turnbull. Turnbull gives up a 33% hard contact rate, 162 ISO against lefties, 120 ISO against righties. Atlanta as a team has a 168 team ISO. You want to target Turnbull with the lefties. And hey, man, Atlanta has a couple really, really good lefties. We're looking at Freeman, looking at Markakis, Albies. I think you can look at him as well. And then, a guy that I'm going to continue playing. I mean, this guy, Austin Riley, young dude, really, really, really good young guy. Like him. I think he's in play. And you can always throw in a Donaldson, Acuna. Those guys have a little bit of upside. So I like the Braves. So just to kind of quickly recap, I like Texas, Cleveland, Kansas City, and Atlanta. Those are the teams that are crazy standing out to me. But like I mentioned, there's probably about 12 spots. I'm going to just kind of go over a couple more teams that I think that are in really good spots. You got the Angels going against Mike Leake. I think that's a really good spot for the Angels. Dodgers, I like the lefties going against Jake Arrieta today. You got Milwaukee going against Chris Archer. Chris Archer hasn't been very good at all. The Mets going against this guy, John Duplantier. I mean, I've never even heard of this guy. I know nothing about him, but I know that the Mets, I mean, I've watched the past 3 or 4 Mets games just because they've been playing my Dodgers, and the Mets are swinging really good bats, and they're in another really good hitters park in Arizona. So I think that you could target the Mets. And then also, I mean, we talked about the good hitting conditions in Colorado. Toronto, they have a tough matchup going against German Marquez, but it's hot. In Coors Field, I mean, they can get a hold of a couple. So I think Toronto is in play as well. So, like I said, there's a lot of spots today. Did I miss any spots? I know you had a couple of spots that you liked as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, right straight off the bat.
You there, Jay?
Yeah, you there? You got me?
Yeah, I'm here.
So right off the bat,
I got you, bro.
I think there's some specific opportunities you can look at according to splits, and I think you could definitely look at the Giants' right-handed bats. It's primarily a right-handed lineup. with the exception of like Brandon Belt and Pablo Sandoval will hit left-handed if he's in the lineup today. I haven't seen their lineup who's in it, but Cashner's been a guy that I've said you can use this year because he gives you the opportunity to get a quality start. He's got a ton of quality starts, an 0.44 ISO against lefties, and a 20.8 K percentage. But against righties, the K percentage is not really up, and the ISO is very high. It's only 15.6 K percent and a 275 ISO to righties. So, there's certain pitchers, when you look at the splits, you go check the lineup for the day and see who's in that lineup. Like a perfect example would be a Jake Arrieta or an Aaron Nola as actually the best example. Aaron Nola, if you look at his last two starts, Aaron Nola faces the Brewers, and I was all over the Brewers because he gives up like a very inflated, I think, 260 ISO to left-handed bats. Well, you look at the Brewers lineup, and they're stacked with left-handed bats, Moustakas and Yelich, and at that point they had Travis Shaw still, and then you've got Eric Thames and Ben Gamel, and it's a ton of left-handed bats to navigate through and with inflated ISO numbers, right? Well, when you flip that around and you look at Aaron Nola getting a start against the Cardinals with the same ISO numbers, but the only lefties he had to go through that lineup with the day he pitched was Matt Carpenter. Dexter Fowler wasn't in that lineup, so he had to navigate his way through Matt Carpenter, where you could kind of pitch around Matt Carpenter because you're not really worried about any of the other right-handed bats in that lineup. And he had a ton of strikeouts to get 57 fantasy points that day. So Cashner's a guy where you look at him and, if it's a left-handed heavy lineup he's going to go against, then maybe, you could use him in a quality start opportunity. Well, the Giants, they don't have a ton of power from the right-handed side, but they do have Posey and they do have Evan Longoria with a little bit of power there. If Mac Williamson's in that lineup, which I haven't seen yet, he's a possibility as well. But Cashner's a guy that I think there's some Giants right-handed bats you could look at. The Boston Red Sox are in the same spot. 288 ISO versus right-handed bats against Happ. You look at this lineup, I did not like Happ one bit against the Orioles in his last start. They got all over him. There's a ton of right-handed bats in the Orioles lineup. There's a ton of right-handed bats in the Boston Red Sox lineup. And these rivalry games tend to be higher scoring as is. And I definitely think the right-handed bats for the Boston Red Sox are in play in this game. I don't know what their implied run total is, but if it's down the board, I'd like it even more because it's an opportunity to get them lower owned. People will look at more popular spots. And Fultonavich, you've got to look at the Detroit Tigers today against Fultonavich. 343 ISO to right-handed bats, a 246 ISO to left-handed bats. They do have some right-handed power in that lineup, with Castellanos. Miguel Cabrera can still hit home runs. He's not having a great season, but he can still hit home runs. They've got some right-handed pop in their lineup. And the guy you mentioned, which is crazy, is Edwin Jackson. I mean, this is a terrible, terrible matchup for Edwin Jackson. Ton of right-handed power, mainly Story and Arenado. And you got a guy who gives up a 581 ISO. So there are a couple of spots that I like. With pitching, the first guy I'm going to start off with is Joey Lucchesi. I don't know how his price on FanDuel is still so cheap, but it's dirt cheap still. He's in the 7,000s coming off an 11 strikeout performance against the Blue Jays. We've talked about the Blue Jays a lot this week because of the K upside in that lineup. Blake Snell probably underperformed quite a bit going against that lineup in his start. But the crazy thing about it was on the deep dive I had mentioned that he has to navigate through two guys who have huge ISO numbers against left-handed pitching. One of them was Rowdy Tellez with over a 296 ISO against left-handed pitching, and then Lourdes Gurriel, who had a 255 ISO against left-handed pitching, and Gurriel touched him up for the 2-run home run in the first inning. So outside of that, Snell pitched decent, but there's a ton of strikeout upside in that Blue Jays lineup, and I don't think German Marquez is completely insane to use today. He's going to, the price is down. He's at Coors Field. I just think that there's an opportunity to use him today in a spot where there's strikeout upside. He'll be low owned. It'll be very contrarian. He has really good numbers, only a 130 ISO to lefties, a 28.2 K percent to right-handed bats, and an 97 ISO to righties. You look at that lineup outside of Tellez, Justin Smoke will hit left-handed, but outside of that, Sogard, Smoke, and Tellez are left-handed bats in that lineup. Everybody else, for the most part, are right-handed bat, and a guy who has almost a 30% K percentage against right-handed bats. So those are two guys that I think are at the low end of the spectrum on a large slate that you can use and probably get lower owned. You have to take a look at Patrick Corbin. I'll say it time in and time again. The guy's a quality start machine. The problem with any Washington pitcher is the bullpen is so bad. Over a 7 ERA, over a 280 batting average against. And it's very hard for a guy in that Washington rotation to feel comfortable coming out of the game that he's going to get a win and the bullpen's going to lock it down for him. So you're risking the extra 6 points that you get from the win. But the one thing I'll say about Corbin is that this is the only guy in the rotation that has demonstrated the ability to pitch more than 100 pitches and go into the ninth inning on multiple occasions. So I do like him in this spot. Bauer, I think, is in a really good spot. Here's the difference between Bauer and the difference between Cookie yesterday. You look at the numbers, the ISO numbers, and yesterday's numbers over 200. Over a 200 ISO for both sides of the plate, and you had a White Sox team who was absolutely smashing right-handed pitching, mainly Abreu. And I mentioned Abreu yesterday, and Abreu hit a home run. But they've, Moncada, Abreu, Leroy Garcia is heating up as well, and they all have monster ISO numbers right now against right-handed pitching. It didn't line up good for Carrasco yesterday. Bauer is in a completely different spot. So, Bauer doesn't have the same numbers, terrible numbers. He does give up a 200 ISO to left-handed bats, but the lefties aren't the people that are hot in this lineup against right-handed pitching. It's the big right-handed bats. Against right-handers, Bauer a 31.2 K percent and a 167 ISO. I think Bauer's in a really good spot. I do like Kenta Maeda in this spot as well. The Dodgers, they put up a lot of runs at home. Arrieta is on the reverse side of this lineup. What I mean by that is 0.79 ISO to righties. Well, who are the righties that are going to bat for the Dodgers today? Right? There's not a lot of right-handed bats in this lineup.
They're gonna go lefty galore for sure.
They'll have Jock Peterson leading off. They'll have Muncy hitting second. They'll have it depends. Justin Turner, he has the hamstring injury, so you could look at possibly David Freese in the lineup again today. And I talked about Freese yesterday. His ISO numbers are actually higher against right-handed pitching than they are against left. So there's a guy with reverse splits hitting in the 3-hole. You got Bellinger hitting fourth. You're gonna have Alex Verdugo, who's starting to heat up again. I don't know if you saw this, but did you see his interview he did after the game when he hit the sac fly against the Mets to win the game?
I didn't see it, no.
This kid's entertaining, man. I'm not a Dodger fan. I'm not, but I love Alex Verdugo as a baseball player. I think he's really good for the game. You have to like a guy that his walk-up music is Volver, Volver. You just got to like it. So Arrieta, I think, is on the reverse side of this, where it'll be a left-handed heavy lineup. Arrieta is really good against righties, a 0.79 ISO and a 24.4 K percent. But against lefties, it's only a 14.6 K percent and a 208 ISO. The thing that the ISO is not crazy ridiculous, right? It's only 208. The benchmark's 200. The thing that sticks out to me in this matchup is the Dodgers have made a concerted effort this year to have a two-strike approach at the plate. They're a free-swinging team until they get 2 strikes, and then they've all done a really good job at shortening up, putting the bat on the ball, and putting it in play when they get 2 strikes. You look at the K percentage already against lefties for Arrieta, and he's having a hard time striking them out, only 14.6, against a team that's going to be dominantly left-handed and is making a conscious effort to put the ball in play. The at-bat in the 9th inning, right-handed pitching, the right-handed closer for the Mets, who's been one of the best closers in baseball over the past 2 years. If you look at that inning, the left-handed bats start with Bellinger with 2 strikes. He takes 2 enormous swings, gets 2 strikes on him, shortens up, hits a line drive over second baseman's head for a double. Verdugo comes up with the bases loaded, takes 2 enormous swings, gets 2 strikes on him, shortens up, and just lines a fly ball into left field to win the game. So I don't like that for Arrieta. I think that's a bad combination. A high ISO, a low K percentage against a team that kills right-handed pitching and a team that is making an effort to put the ball in play. So that's kind of where I'm at on the slate, man.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, it's a big slate. It's going to be a fun slate. I think today's a day where they definitely got to tune into your deep dive and get a little bit of an edge, because there's a lot of spots that you can go to today. So you got to make sure and get the right spots. Hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, man. If you guys want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, hey, make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Get yourself your free 2-week trial. Yeah, hey, we're giving you guys 2 weeks just to make sure that our tool is right for you. I mean, what do you really have to lose? Make sure to check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, talk to you guys later, all right? Peace out.